That's what this Sunday is all about. And we're seeing them expand their mind, expand the dreams, and the creativity that's showing, and Will singing hymns and vagabonds. So that's what this Sunday is all about. And you can be a part of this. We want you to be able to speak to the ensemble and Callista about your own talents, your own gifts, that we're so anxious to be a part of. As we continue to expand our minds, as we continue to realize that the dreams that we have are there because it's a sign of urging from within. It is that creative subjective within us. It is that unconscious, subconscious within us that is urging us to explore, to expand. And we get these ideas, and we wake up in the morning, we have these wonderful thoughts or these dreams that came forward. And sometimes they might not be so wonderful. Try to stay with the dream just a little bit. Try to stay with the dream and write it down. And then when you have amassed maybe several dreams, you might get the central theme that's running through. Because it's at that point, in that state, the subconscious is able to do what it's supposed to do. It kind of works out things while you're sleeping. And some of those dreams that might seem as though they're speaking of death, they're speaking of someone dying, they may just be speaking of death of the old you. Ready to step into a new you. Ready to release the old story, to start creating the new story. So the dreams are giving us many messages. If we're just staying in tune, you see, this whole being of which we were created didn't just have the form. It wasn't just the physical form that we sometimes ignore and pay no attention to. It was the whole enchilada. It was that this divine plan, this divine pattern contained everything we need. Emotionally, physically, it became the total thing. And then there were other parts that were placed within it to help us when we were even sleeping. So that we were never really alone. That we always have that which we need. And there's always this kind of bell within us that brings us to a level of a new consciousness that starts to wake us up of, oh my goodness, maybe this is what it's all about. But you've got to be willing. You've got to be willing to allow this to take place within your experience called life. You've got to be able to, and I don't like to say got to shut up all those, and sometimes they do slip in, don't they? For us to continue the journey that we have in mind, that we see other people continuing, then there's some changing maybe that we need to make. Some changes within our life experience that we need to make. Some areas in our life experience that we require to have in order for us to continue. And so it's very important for us just to sit down and take note of what do we require? What is it that's been speaking to us in our dreams? And what do I require to fulfill that which has been coming in to me in various ways? Various ways, like just walking down the street and seeing a bus pass and it has the exact message that you've been looking for. That is saying almost, it's time now. It's time. Being aware is as you walk out of this door, you happen to see a bird fly in front of you and it happens to be red, and that red means something to you. There are no coincidences in life. There are no coincidences. There are no accidents. There are no victims and there are no villains. You're creating this step by step, moment by moment. We are creating this thing called our life. We've aligned ourselves or allowed ourselves to be in tune with the divine presence. And when we allow that to take place, that which is the nature of that which we've aligned ourselves with comes to us. It is always there. It didn't just come. It has always been there waiting for us to recognize it. That's what this journey is all about. For we know at the time of creation, it then placed itself in us and then left us alone to discover it. And so all it's doing is waiting for that discovery. And once there is that discovery, we start becoming more aware of how things have been put in place for us. We start connecting the dots. We start connecting one dot to the other dot. And start realizing the pattern that has already been in place. And that we've been walking asleep. And we decide it's time to wake up. It's time for us to have that newness coming into our own experience. And then we start realizing it's not new at all. It's been there all along. It's like the miracles we talk about. And we're just talking and then speaking as the reading this morning, I mean, it wasn't the reading, but my dear friend Jennings says that the miracles are not miracles. They're just law-abiding activities. Deep. Because if we know anything about the law, we know that the law is always there to outpicture what you're feeling. If we know anything about the law, we know that it is there to be the mirror image of that which we're having and experiencing within us. If you know anything about the law, when we talk about, as I say all the time, aerodynamics, we're not saying that those are miracles. They're just law-abiding activities. Because someone thought the thought. Someone said it can happen. And the law has to abide by that which you then identify as yours. So the law is always working, and that's kind of the text for today. And that is, how can we use it? How can we use it? This month we've been doing this journey of what's called the nuts and bolts of this teaching. And the nuts and bolts of this teaching is just to get you more acquainted with how this whole thing works. How this thing that we call God is in our being. How does it work? What does it do? And then it talks about how can we use it. Now we usually hear the song that says, use me. But here we're saying, how can we use it? How does it work for us? What does it do? And then we place ourselves in the position of, after we know that, we beg the question, we make the statement, just use me. Just use me till I'm all used up. For I now understand what this existence is about. Just use me. But during this journey this month, we're just identifying all of those ways in which we can become more familiar. We talked about the thing itself, and that thing has those qualities or those areas of itself that we